All right, welcome back. This is MDawg. One of my favorite things to do with RF4 are these videos where we do spot checks, and that is what we're doing now. And hopefully this will be a helpful spot check. So this is a little different. I've actually never fished from this specific spot here in Norway. And this is going to be shore fishing, which I'm always a little skeptical of, but always hoping that it'll turn out okay. Let me give credit to the poster of this spot. I think it's tuna sterlets on VK. Anyway, this is a spot. And so the person that posted this actually was concerned with only the first rod we're going to be using, which is a marine lure jigging rig. We're using all yellow, so the provoker 4007, the foam rubber fish, the maggot 4004, and the lens minnow 80004. 2/0 hooks. I do have a 3/0 with the provoker. So we're going to, I'm just reading some of the comments on this post. It's pretty funny. So we're going to give this a try. But one thing I'm adding to this equation is I'm actually going to send out. So he's talking about fishing 40 to 50 meters out. So we're just going to put this at 50. I'm actually going to add two I think these are pretty standard setups for how people are using these, fishing with these here. Lugworm and Neresis on the other one, 2/0 hooks. This one's loop and the other one's basic bottom, because frankly I just haven't done this enough to know if there is a difference. Nice long cast, and we're gonna get a little happy hour here too. So it looks like it's noon. I'm gonna try to do this for as close to an hour as I can stand, especially if it goes well. See if that one goes exactly right. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. So, and then the second rod set up pretty much the same way. It's got the Nereus type worm instead of the lugworm. But the main thing we're doing here is this setup that I showed you first. This is where he is claiming that from this spot, he can get, it looks like he did clarify that he used a 2.0 jig head on the top as well. In fact, he said 30 gram. I'm just curious, is there one that I have that's 30 gram? Maybe not exactly. So we'll just use this one. So he's using 2/0 hooks on all of them, it looks like. So let's put this 07 back on. And one thing he doesn't say, and I was just trying to make sure that he doesn't mention this, and he may hear, but it's in Russian. So let me see if I can. That's not the right way. Let me see if I can figure out really quick. We have this ability to translate stuff sometimes. Let me see if this is going to work for me right now. This, and this. And we want to grab the part of the screen that we want to translate and throw it into our translation. So jig step movement in the bottom layer. So we may have to experiment a little bit with how to get the jig step moving in the bottom layer, but let's just see what we can figure out. We do have interesting. So that cast. Sorry, now I'm trying to think about, do we have a way of making it go further? I am wondering if I put a bait casting reel, if I'll be able to cast farther. I should also check and see where my points are. If he's fishing 40 to 50 meters away, we didn't make it to that distance. on this cast. So there's our first fish. Looks like it is going to be something pretty small. So, you know, really the question I have in coming into wanting to test this spot out is, you know, best case scenario, I have a feeling we're going to catch a bunch of these. Best case scenario, is this worth farming ever for somebody that just doesn't want to go out on the boat? Like, is it still a good enough farm to justify that? Or maybe second scenario, for players who are new to Norway, but already have like nice carp setups and just want to sort of ease into it. Is this an option? Like, can you make enough to make this worthwhile? All right, so we're doing 60. I need to be a little careful here. We probably would want to do the Venga, right? Spinning setup. I think I said bait casting. Let's try this and let's see how far we can get this. Let me see where points are as well. So this is marine fishing. We do have points in the rods, it looks like. So that shouldn't be a problem. We also have points in the conventional reels. So that really shouldn't be a problem either. But let's see how far we can get this. That's way farther. It's way too far. Okay, so this is the answer. And we probably want to clip it at 50. Maybe 60. Let's try clipping it here. So we'll try to clip it at 60 when we get it back to shore. I think that's what we want to do. All right, and then I am just going to see if we can get jig step to go. Yeah, there we go. So I'm doing shift reel with retrieval speed at 50. All right. What did we get here? So one thing it might be nice to do is just try to keep that active in the bottom layer over there. Oh, this is a decent fish. All right, might not be worth doing that. Let's just try to get this fish in. We'll see what this is. So anything we catch on bottom rods, by the way, is sort of a bonus. Because again, the information, the spot information that was provided really is just talking about doing it on the jigging setup. Now, I have to go back on a statement I made. I'm talking about this for newer players to Norway. Technically speaking, a newer player is actually unable to make the setup that we have, right? You would have to be able to unlock the ability to do drop shots. Okay, so there's a flat belly fish. Looks like a turbot to me. 4 kilo turbot. We'll take that. All right, let's get it back out there. Yeah, technically speaking, I suppose you really would not be able to make this setup until you unlock drop shot. I think I'm remembering that correctly on how it works. All right, let's get this thing clipped and go right back out there. I think we'll go 55. So it's shallow out there. It's in the bottom rig pretty quickly, I mean, bottom layer pretty quickly. Trying to have as good of a pause as possible. All right, so there's our second fish. First fish caught on this rig was a non-marker. That is one of the things I worry a little bit about, is how small these hook sizes we're using are. But remember, we are starting here at the sort of probably the worst time. I mean, we'll see how overnight is, but it certainly should be a little better in the morning. All right, so here's third fish. So we've got 2 flat belly European plaice and 1 eel pout so far, using the setup that we're supposed to be using. Let's make sure it doesn't look like we've got a fish on one of our bottom rods. It does not. So far, our best fish has definitely been on a bottom rod. We've only had 1 cast where we didn't catch a fish, though. That's kind of nice. And we could slow the retrieval speed down. I think sometimes people use very slow retrieval speed when fishing from shore. I don't know that that would make a huge difference, but we could try it. All right, love to see it. Oh, that's a nice one. There's 17.6 thousand XP and good silver right there. That's a good one. Let's keep it going. You get some fish like that, then yeah, this turns into a pretty decent thing. Almost 500 gram eel pout. Let's see if I can see. I don't think we can see his setup to see what. So one thing that I wish was there was more information on this post. I'd be curious to know like what shock leader size he's got, those types of things. All right, next cast we're going to try a slower retrieval speed just for fun. See what that's like. I am curious if we'll get a bite this close though. Oh yeah, we did. It's small, but so we tend to be getting smaller stuff. I feel like the closer in we get. There's another eel pout. Lots of eel pout being caught. All right, so let's get this back out there and let me slow this down. Let's go like, I don't know. I don't actually know what we want to do here. All right, let's see here. So the nice eel pout came in on the maggot, provoker, lens minnow. So we're definitely spreading around the love. Foam rubber fish. Everything's getting involved. Provoker. All right, very cool. All right, so let's just see if we can get a jig step with this slower pace. Well, we never got a jig step, but we certainly did get a quick bite. This looks like another European plaice, probably sub marker again. It's very small. No, this one's barely a marker. 3,000 XP. We will take it. I like that we're getting this easy jig step and constantly movement in the bottom layer. Nice and shallow, doesn't take long to get to the bottom. So if the bite rate and quality of fish is pretty good here, this is an interesting little experience. There is a part of me that wonders about throwing out the flying collar rig, which if you know about qualifications, you need the flying collar rig for one of the qualifications. You need to catch a certain species of fish trophy. So I don't necessarily want to like completely disrupt the spot test we're doing right now, but fishing here has made me wonder about that. The flying collar rig tends to do well in the bottom layer. It tends to do well retrieving it slowly. So yeah, I don't know. It feels like at least some possibility there. I don't know how we lost jig step there. All right, we've gotten pretty close in. So it's taking longer, obviously, with the slower retrieval speed. We also, the question is, are we getting better results? Way too early to tell on that, but we did lose jig step when it got close. Now I'm shift reeling again and quickly got jig step back. But we did not catch anything that time. And to be fair, the bottom rods have been very slow. Very slow. We'll see if they pick up at night or in the morning. Arguably our best fish was still caught on a bottom rod. And it was on the loop rig. Maybe we switched the other one to loop rig. Also could put a fluorocarbon leader on there to see if that makes a difference instead of those carp leaders. I didn't really think about that, but now that I'm thinking about it, it would be worth trying. Is this a sculpin? Yeah, a little sculpin. All right, let's reel this one in and change it up. All right, so we're going to switch this to loop rig where we have points. And we're going to switch this to around 30. Oh, wait, what's the largest fluorocarbon we have? Yeah, we should have plenty big. 27 should be good. Let's just see if this does anything for us. Unfortunately, we made 2 changes, so you never know which change had more impact. And possibly next fish we get on the middle rod, we'll switch that one to fluorocarbon as well. Don't know if it makes a difference out here, but just in case. There's jig step. So we're still using 18 retrieval speed. But once it gets a little closer, if we haven't caught something, I will probably start shift reeling still with it at 18 to try to maintain that easy jig step. Just give us the best chance possible all the way in to catch a fish. All right, another European place. So there's, at least this time of day or whatever, I mean, there seems like a high volume of European place right now. And maggot on that one, minnow on the sculpin, provoker on the most recent marker place. All right. Ooh, it popped off. It was very small anyway. To the point that was so small, I would say that might have been like a, you know, a small fish of some sort, like the sorry or something like that. That was very small. All right, this one is too. Let's see. Is it a tiny place, or am I right and we're just like caught a little sorry or something? Oh, is that a little eel pout? Oh, wow. Okay. Did not expect to see the spiny. Can't wait to see what actually caught the spiny. Foam rubber fish. In fact, it broke it. It just broke our foam rubber fish. This one right here. It was almost toast anyway, but. All right, so we're, just as a reminder, we're casting to 55 meters. We're hoping that by 50 meters or so, we're in a little bit of a rhythm, a little bit of jig step situation. You know, it happened so quick, I almost am thinking about moving the clip to 60 meters. Get those spiny dogfish anywhere, apparently. All right. Sculpin. Sculpin number 2. At least it's a marker. Definitely, I would say Sculpin is the one that we, just in terms of XP and silver, that's going to be our lowest yielding fish. By the way, right now we are not on our way to 500 silver. Things could change with a trophy or something like that, but at this pace, well, we'll see where we end up, but All right, so we've got something juicy on here. This is maybe like another flatfish. They're pretty flat, so they're hard to get in. Let's see if we close it up here, are we in trouble of snapping? Yeah, we could be. All right, I'll be curious to see, assuming we get this in, what size and species it is. We may be a little under, like we should come with a little bit more power on these bottom rods than what we're doing. Oh man, yeah, we can't do that. Now that we have low energy, it's like even harder. So I think the issue is if it's like a turbot, it's still probably not that big based on how much power we have in this rig. But if it's another fish, then this could be a really nice fish. Yeah, that looks like another turbot, so it's probably not that big of a turbot. All right, see if we can get it in from here. 8.8, not too bad. 90,000 XP, that's not terrible. We'll take that. All right. Ooh, quick bite. Okay. So that does take us, I mean, I guess to be fair to the poster of this spot, even though some of our best fish have been caught on the bottom rods, that does slow down the amount of fish we're getting on these, on the intended rod for this spot. So just keep that in mind, I suppose. That sculpin was on the foam rubber fish. Finding the bites has not been too difficult with this setup. A lot of sculpin right now. At least we're getting decent marker sizes. That was the maggot. All right, I think I do want to switch this one to a fluorocarbon leader, see if that makes a difference. So now we've got them both on loop rig, and in a minute we'll have both set up with fluorocarbon leader. I keep seeing movement on this line, but I guess it's just because it's out there. All right, so 31, 35. $35 it is. Okay. Interesting. Nibble on line 3. Looks like another very small European place. Certainly hope this is not a turbot. And it is not. Wait, it might be. It might be a tiny turbot. Is that what we're just catching here on these baits? It's very interesting. Huh. That tiny non-marker turbot was worth more XP than some of these decently sized marker sculpin. Yeah, so let me know what y'all think. Is this too slow of a bite rate for you on the spinning setup? A little too inconsistent, or not? I'm gonna change the clip because I know I never did that. I just want to see if we extend the clip a little bit, if we can get a slightly better performance out of it. I'm also going to go back to our shift reeling, I think. I don't know. Maybe I won't. Let's see. All right, so let's go to 67 clip. That'll give us plenty of time to get into our routine. Having a harder time finding jig step at this speed. Man, it looks so fast after you're used to like regular retrieval speed to do shift 50. I don't love doing shift 50 in this spot for some reason. I mean, it's been fine, like we caught some fish this way, but it just makes me feel like when we're reeling so fast that surely that impacts the fish's ability to... I know that this game is programmed in a particular way, but I don't know, I just wonder about it. It does seem like it's the fastest way to get it into jig step, though. But it's very hard when we don't get a fish. Not used to casting and then bringing it all the way back in at Norway without catching a fish. Very strange experience. Because of the way we typically fish here. I wonder if, is it getting to a slightly deeper place? We must be casting it right over the edge of a spot. Since we moved the clip, it's actually taking a little longer to sink to the bottom, which might be why it was harder to find jig step at the beginning last time. Jig step will start around 50, won't it? Maybe not. There it is. Almost 45. Bounced off. Hey, it's another spiny, isn't it? A little bit better one. Almost 2 kilos. Look at that. That's a nice fish, actually. Interesting. Try to let it hit bottom. If it hasn't already, there we go. Well, if we think getting that jig step is important to actually catching the fish, which it's not always, but we actually should bring the clip back in a little bit. Not seeing a dramatic difference between the different retrieval speeds. Trying really hard to get, yeah, there we go. So we can get jig step just before it hits 45. Oof, I cut it a little short that time. We'll see how this goes. Yeah, I think we actually increase the total amount of fish we're catching if we clip it at 50 and immediately get into that jig step. I'm not saying we would have had a dramatically different hour. We're at what, 39 minutes? But I mean, this is the way to go. From what I'm seeing, you get that jig step immediately. Cut your downtime. Maybe you wanted at 52 meters. It might have been nice if we had gotten jig step a little sooner or a little farther out than that, but I think you want to get right back into that fishing ground where you're getting most of your bites. This reminds me of back in the day when we would fish Volkov from boats anchored down, and you would sort of find the hot spots, figure out where exactly am I catching the most fish from. And then the goal was, okay, so how do I keep my lure in that hot spot as long as possible? And how do I get it back as quick as possible? If that makes sense. All right, since we're starting at 50, let's try to let it get all the way to the bottom. There we go. And then get that first jig step immediate. Again, I think we could try 52 and see how that feels, but I waited too long there, by the way. That's why jig step dropped off. But that was kind of perfect. Like on our first reel, we had it back in jig step. So think about all of that time that we spent between fish with the lure farther out, or getting things sorted. If you take all that away and you spend the hour sort of intensely keeping the lure in that 40 to 50 range and then on in to 20, I think if we get past 20 to 15 meters, then you're probably not catching a fish in this spot. So like if we don't hit one here on this one, then I say we won't. Because one more turn and we're basically now almost underneath us. That would be amazing if a huge fish came and took it right there. Okay, so let's go to 52 meters. This might be perfect. We want to let it kind of close the line. All right. It's a very small fish, so it needs to be the right fish. All right, and where do we have these? Remember where we've got these clipped? That's a sculpin, by the way. We've got these clipped at 50. We might have had a better time if they were at 45. Let's move it now. It's a nice sculpin. All right, we're going to clip it at 45 and see how that is. Yeah, this right line, I mean this right one has just ended up being a little better than the middle one, I think. But they've both been very slow. Good fish, quality of fish have been good. Worth having in there. But, ooh, fish on. What is that? Something a little different? Or a little European place again, yeah. So we're at 43 minutes. It's funny, it's kind of like, okay, we spent our first hour getting a feel for how we want to approach it. Our second hour, certainly, you know, if I came back for another test, I probably would do a good bit better during the second test. So keep that in mind. The person who posted this, you know, they may have posted, well, let me see how different theirs is. Actually, you know, it's not that they're saying that they've got the best net ever. They really don't. The thing is, they caught a trophy eel pout, and they caught 2 really big eel pout that were worth a lot of silver. So in all actuality, we're actually, like, in terms of the amount of fish we've caught, we may be doing better than the person who posted this. We just haven't hit the trophy, and that's okay. You're not going to always hit the trophy. I'm actually pleased with how we've done as I'm re-looking at his post. I think if you know you have certain cafe orders, or you just want to have like a chill fishing experience, from what I'm seeing, we'll see what the final calculation is on silver, but from what I'm saying, this is not an unreasonable way to spend an hour in terms of catching some fun fish, using 3 rods instead of 1, and at least having a chance at an eel pout trophy, which is always cool and very lucrative. We've got one hanging in our house, in fact. Now that I'm dialed in on how sort of we're approaching it, it's, I think just, there's a little bit more upside. But at the end of the day, like the next spot test I was planning on doing, if I have time later today, is at the 41 bank or the 34 bank. Just, I haven't done that in a few days. I mean, you can't compete with that necessarily. I mean, you might, considering the boat ticket. If you hit a trophy here, you might, but on average, you're not going to be able to compete with that. But as a way to, as a way to sort of mix it up a little bit, like, this is cool. The question is for newer players, and this would be a different video, but how could you do in this spot if all you had was the provoker on? If you didn't have the drop shot, all you had on was the provoker, or all you had on was the foam rubber fish, however you wanted to approach it, and the 2 bottom rods, you know, would that, how worth your time would that be? Because until you get pretty high ranking in marine fishing, you're not going to be able to do this drop shot. And this drop shot is probably helping the bite rate a good bit. It usually does, at least. As we draw towards the end of this hour, it'd be nice to have one more really nice fish off a bottom rod. I'm thinking about recasting that second one just because of how slow it's been. Plus it's at a different clip. Might even put it at 40 clip. I'm not sure that 50 was the right clip. We can't go back now. We'd have to, start over. But I just wonder if like 40 to 45, which this third one now is at 45. There's another nice little eel pout. They're coming in. It's morning. The eel pouts are coming in. All right, let's go ahead and do that really quick. So we've got this one at 45 clip now. And instead of 50, let's move this middle one to 40. Maybe even 38. I'll do 40 just to kind of keep it on even numbers, but I think closer actually might be a little better. Think about how many bites we're getting fairly close in. Certainly at least 40, if not a little closer than that. The community has been super kind and congratulating me on that Donit's rough trophy. I certainly appreciate all of the kind wishes. That was fun to get that one. I think this spot is definitely a little bit better when the eel pouts are active. During the parts of the day where you're not catching eel pouts, you're kind of stuck with sculpin in place. Although, how fun was the spiny dogfish? That was definitely fun to get 2 of those. I'd love to be proven wrong here and catch one at 15 meters, but I think it's just too close. So we are currently at 50 minutes. Running out of time. And that is another thing we didn't test. We only tested the 2 worm species. We did not test the shrimp in terms of the bottom feeders. I think that's pretty typical for shore fishing these days when people do try to make it work. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong on that. All right, you'd like to see this. Almost a kilo place. You're getting up to the point where it's a little more worthwhile. How cool would it be if it was just like more often, if that was the case, where as soon as you put it in, you were hooking into something. And a third spiny dogfish. Wow. All right, we've got to be close. Let me watch the time here. 54 minutes. So, and that was from first fish. That's not necessarily from when we first started, although I don't think we waited long for the first fish. So we'll give it another cast or two, and then we'll just say we're at an hour. Doesn't look like we're going to get that last fish on bottom that I was hoping for. It also, unfortunately, has not proven to be the case that changing the clips on those did not seem to do much to the bite rate. I mean, that's one thing. If we did some more testing here, if we were able to figure out how to make the bottom rods a little bit more active, a little bit better, then that pushes the whole setup for the hour up a little bit. Does take away from the fishing on this rod, but if they continue to be quality fish like they have been, it still is a net gain, I think. All right, let's do one more cast. Let's see if we can't get one more fish. Might not be able to, but we'll try. One more cast. All right, what are we up against here? All right, so this person is claiming to have 300 silver, 420 with the trophy. So we're trying to beat 300 silver in our first hour of testing here, and that's without cafes. That's just straight head to head. Can we beat 300 silver? Because of those spiny dogfish, I'm actually a little bit hopeful. Those add a little bit. That turbot's going to be nice. I don't know. We'll see. And don't forget, when you're comparing these coastal spots, these shore spots, to fishing on the boat, you do need to factor in the cost of a boat ticket. Which, again, this is still not necessarily going to be highly competitive with some of the better offshore spots, but the boat ticket change does help it a little bit. And this is, unfortunately, this is what fishing here is like during the middle part of the day. A little harder to get that bite. At the ideal times, it's pretty cool. We got those eel pouts coming in. You know, it's pretty interesting. But once you get to 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it starts to have no more eel pouts. So then you're just kind of looking for the flat bellies, the sculpin, and you're hoping that a spiny dogfish will get confused and swim the wrong direction. All right, let's see how we did. So we're going head to head with 300 silver without cafe. Now, the other thing you could take into account, where's the bait boat? You could take into account, yeah, we didn't pay for offshore, but we did. Is this new? It's got to be new. Huh. So if this thing ever went on sale, it is interesting. So you can take into account, how many did we, I mean, we probably only spent maybe 3 of each. So, I don't know, 3 divided by 30 is 10%. So, I mean, it's not much silver, actually. Okay, fish market. Let's see how we did. First of all, let's refresh our memory on boat cost. I was thinking it's 100 silver. Is it actually 200? No, it's 100 silver. Okay, so 100 silver for an hour or 1 day out there. And how did we do? So if you look at price, yeah, 80 for that turbot. Total, we did 323. So we did come in slightly higher than what was advertised in this spot. So at the end of the day, we did do really well. I knew the spiny would help a ton. Obviously, that turbot. The thing you got to remember, though, this turbot was caught on bottom rig. If we had not thrown in the bottom rig, we are way under. Now, we would have caught more fish on the spinning setup, and I do feel like we were starting to get dialed in on the spinning, but just keep that in mind. So we're not going to have any cafe orders here. So true to form, we're making what we're making, 323. You know, it is what it is. I think it's tough, you know, if you compare that to how you're doing, even if you add 100 for the boat cost, or if you think about the bait cost, it's still just not a great comparison to the offshore fishing, but it's way more than you make in most spots in the rest of the game. I mean, that hour we spent, it would be hard to make 323 anywhere else in the game, spending an hour with 2 bottom rods and a spin setup. Not impossible. I mean, there are some other like cool spots where you can do some hybrid fishing like that, but Norway, it's just inflated prices. It's just, you know, it is what it is. So anyway, 323, we'll take it. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this format. Let me know. This is something that I have done in the past, and I kind of just want to try to get back to doing as I fade away from some of the leveling series episodes. I mean, that's still going, but I'm definitely slowing down. What I tend to enjoy doing is getting back to my main account and really doing these spot checks. And I kind of like this idea of seeing what someone has advertised a spot being, like this is a 300 silver an hour spot, and then us coming in and really testing that out, playing around with it, seeing how we do in reality. So this first one is actually a success. We went over. We made 23 silver more than what was advertised. So, all right, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.